Visage or Visage?
That is the question.
That is the question.
The amazing psychological horror game Visage. Never before have I played.
That sucks. At this point, we're going to watch this video together with you, and you're going to get our honest to God reaction.
Yeah.
Looking at the story behind the amazing psychological horror game Visage. Never before have I played a horror game that had me on edge as much as this one, and it really invigorated the genre for me. However, underneath all the tension and pure fear is a story based on real life events which is just as deep and meaningful as it is terrifying. You ready? Let's go. So at the start we see a man shoot 3 people, a woman and 2 children, and then turn the gun on himself. Fades to black and a person wakes up in a bare room sporting a limp.
So wait, did you catch that? Did you hear? Okay, check this out.
Let's go. So at the start we see a man shoot 3 people, a woman and 2 children.
A woman and 2 children, he supposes. So not John as we thought.
Okay. We didn't
So-
really get 2 kids in Dwayne's. They were not involved.
Well, I thought the young man might have been John
That's what we thought
from that
yeah.
scene.
Yeah.
But this user supposes it's 2 children and a woman.
Then turn the gun on themselves. Fades to black and a person wakes up in a bare room sporting a limp and enters through a door into a hallway. It's made clear very early on that paranormal events are a regular occurrence in the house, and it's not long before things start to get really creepy. The character we play upon inspection has no hands or feet and no body. At first I thought this is just a developer oversight, but now it kind of makes sense. Our character is actually a ghost. Upon answering
Okay, yeah. We assumed so as well. If the events in the introduction
Yeah.
were anything, we thought, okay, he offed himself.
Yeah.
He might be a specter or something.
a phone call from our neighbour Rose, we find out that our character is known as Dwayne.
Hello, Dwayne. It's Rose, your neighbor.
Now let's get the initial
us.
confusion out of the way. The person who killed the people at the start was Dwayne. He killed his entire family and himself. This is partly mentioned on the radio at the start in the hallway.
His name is Dwayne Anderson. His whole family.
Essentially, Dwayne is trapped in purgatory, the place between life and a final death, if you like, and is trapped in the house as a spirit. What's more, Dwayne is being hunted and haunted by apparitions of the house's previous victims. The fact that Dwayne is a spirit has added weight when you factor in that every clock in the house is stuck at 3:33.
I noticed that.
All right, this is really cool, and a lot's happening really quickly here. So don't get upset at me if I have to backtrack a little bit, because this person presenting all this information is speaking at lightning speed. But he said something else here. I wanted just to backtrack to, just to pick it up.
The fact that Dwayne is a spirit has added weight when you factor in that every clock in the house is stuck at 3.
Okay, sorry everybody.
What's more, Dwayne is being hunted and haunted by apparitions of the house's previous victims.
Okay.
House's previous
Houses.
victim.
So yeah, I picked up on that. I was like, wait, hunted and haunted by the house's previous victims.
That's the key detail.
So
And so I was thinking that, was it the house or was it the family? You know.
The fact that Dwayne is a spirit has added weight when you factor in that every clock in the house is stuck at 3:33 a.m.
You noticed
and
that,
literally
huh?
cannot move forward. 3:33 a.m. is widely known as the Devil's Hour, in which paranormal events occur tenfold.
666.
So the house featured in Visage is essentially what is described as a mansion. We see various iterations of the house during each chapter, which likely details the house's changing architecture throughout the years. It's located in Riversdale, Oregon, USA. In a comic book from one of the upstairs bedrooms, which tells us of the neighbour Rose's backstory, we learn that 5 different groups lived in the house from the year 1961 up until 1985. 3 families and 2 single males. Lucy, her mother and father, occupied the house in 1961. Dolores, her husband George and their baby in 1962. Lewis Taylor in 1965. Raken Almatawa in 1970. And Dwayne Anderson and his family in 1985. So let's start at the 1960s. Lucy was a young girl who lived in the Visage house with her parents at the time of her death in the year 1961. She was an only child and a relatively normal girl at first, liking toys, drawing and tree houses. She then developed a friendship with a demon who would communicate with her through the TV. Eventually, Lucy killed her pet bird Pico under influence from the demon. As a result, her parents turned, albeit reluctantly, to medical treatments to fix her declining mental state. Her parents mentioned in the game that the doctors administered treatments through syringes, which Lucy's mother didn't like too much.
I know all that, but who the hell prescribes syringes for a child?
Eventually, Lucy stopped referring to her mother as mum. But then one day Lucy locked herself in the bathroom and literally ripped off her own jaw under the demon's influence, killing herself through blood loss as her parents desperately tried to get the door open. Dolores was a lady of elderly appearance who lived in the Visage house with her husband George and their baby at the time of their death. Dolores, after moving into the house, begins to suffer from dementia, bipolar, anxiety, and paranoia. Her husband George tries to take care of Dolores, but this backfires, likely due to his misunderstanding of mental health treatments.
Dolores' symptoms are aggravating. They tell me she's got symptoms of schizophrenia, bipolar disorder,
She's so
psychosis,
old, the
dementia,
baby.
and more.
Dolores, as a result, becomes
Well, this person mentions that she has an appearance of an older woman. You know, I don't know if she necessarily
Yeah,
if she
but
had a
she
hard
still
paper
looked
route or
past.
something.
paranoid that
Babies.
George is up to something and thinks that
to
he's
be
trying to
sure.
kill her using rat poison.
It's a great
I
scene.
knew it.
Or she stuffs you in the oven.
Damn scoundrel. What bread you're worth.
She has violent episodes, sometimes attacking George and self-harming, eventually killing him in cold blood with 7 knives. Due to the guilt, she hangs herself. Now, Lewis is fairly mysterious, so we'll get to him a little bit later.
No,
Raken was an ex-rugby player with a tall, muscular appearance who lived in the house on his own at the time of his disappearance in 1970. Raken, after moving to the house, begins to suffer from a disorder called scopophobia, which is defined as an excessive fear or anxiety caused by the feeling of being watched or stared at. He developed a paranoia as a result.
There you are, little piece of crap. You think you can get me that easily, huh? Nice try, you fuck!
Oh, how this individual knows? There's so much lore that you can be found on newspaper clippings, on the radio, that I was too full of fear, honestly, playing the game. You know, honestly, I just couldn't catch my breath to go and learn anything. I just wanted to get out.
Fear is a
Raken
huge
is admitted to a
distraction
psych
in the
ward
game.
after firing a weapon
It's a
in his
metaphor for
home.
life, I think.
The neighbour Rose reported him. He tries to escape due to his paranoia, breaks his legs jumping from a window, and after many tests, he escapes his room again, and ends up in what seems to be an underground part of the hospital, or it could be his home. We see that he gets locked up in a room where he eventually dies. Dwayne is the main protagonist of Visage. He lived in the Visage house with his family at the time of his death in the year 1985. A seemingly devout Catholic, Dwayne, after moving in, soon began to develop an addiction to alcohol and also developed depression and anxiety, further exacerbating his drinking. Dwayne suffers from a mental illness, which is why there is a stress mechanic in the game. He neglected his wife and children more and more, and eventually killed his family and himself, and ended up as another victim in a long line of victims of the Visage mansion. But is Dwayne really a victim? So the entire game in its simplest form is Dwayne finding out and investigating what happened to the previous occupants of the house, Lucy, Dolores and Raken. The stories behind these 3 make up chapters 1 to 3, with chapter 4 being Dwayne's story. Lastly, there are chapters for Lucy, Dolores and Raken, but there's no chapter for Lewis Taylor. This is because Lewis's story is a little bit different. Throughout the game, Dwayne obtains 7 VHS tapes, 3 after completing chapters and the other 4 upon finding them scattered about the house. These tapes are addiction, greed, negligence, indifference, pride, prison and affliction. But before I go into what I believe these tapes tell us about Dwayne and his past, I need to mention something called Project MKUltra. In the 1950s and 60s, the CIA was tasked with creating a mind control drug which would be weaponized and used against enemies of the US. The director of the MKUltra program, Sidney Gottlieb, paid around $240,000 to buy up all of the world's LSD and distributed it to hospitals, clinics and prisons under the guise of a bogus foundation, asking them to carry out research projects on patients and prisoners. Let's start by breaking down each VHS tape. In the addiction videotape, we see Dwayne being told by a man in a plague doctor's mask, which obviously symbolises Dwayne's thoughts and his guilt, to drink his problems away, leading to an over-reliance on alcohol.
Don't you worry, my friend. Just take a sip, and everything's gonna be back to normal. Go ahead. Drink a little of this wonderful poison. It'll do you real good.
What developed this alcoholism? Well, what comes next might explain this. In the Greed videotape, we see Dwayne signing a contract which simply says, "You don't give an F." See, it's my theory that Dwayne was involved in Project MKUltra and was working for the CIA. My thinking is that this could have been a non-disclosure agreement which the government made him sign to keep their involvement in MKUltra a total secret. which was in fact a classified operation. This is where I believe everything started. In the negligence videotape, we see that Dwayne is neglecting his family and turning to drink even further. This is likely due to his growing guilt about what the government is making him do. In the indifference videotape, we learn that Dwayne has basically stopped caring. A vision of his wife accuses him of having a cold indifference.
Recently, you've been scaring everyone with your cold indifference.
His tape also shows us that Dwayne is taking various pills, and his wife asks who is prescribing them for him. Dwayne is essentially taking these pills to help him deal with his guilt, the drinking, the depression, and the anxiety of what he has done and his involvement in MKUltra. His wife even says to him that she is only with him for his money, and that she thinks it's probably blood money, but she doesn't even care.
See, now that's interesting. This person supposes that Dwayne. See, I don't like that interpretation. That he's gripped by guilt of what he did with MKUltra. That doesn't compel me as much as he feels guilt about killing his family. Look, I'm not this guy. I'm not, you know what I mean? It's not, if it's true, like, one, I don't know how this person connected MKUltra to this other than.
Yeah, but also he's already dead.
Mm-hmm.
So the guilt of killing a family would trump the guilt of what you did in MKUltra.
I guess the only thing that lends credence to what he's saying is maybe the VHS tapes are somehow separate from the. I can't believe I'm going to say Visage house. I'm still on Visage.
Visage is French for face, so that's why I thought it was pronounced Visage.
Is it really Visage?
Yeah.
The only way maybe that he's right is if the VHS tapes document Dwayne's real life, and that real life, and that, well, and in fact they do, because his wife is alive in the VHS tapes. In the Visage house, where he's haunted and also, hunted by other ghosts, that's past his life. So, perhaps this user here who's telling us about this could be right, that in the VHS tapes he's taking medication for things happening in his living life. But to me, I thought
comes a point where it's like trying to make sense when we're already in a paranormal made up world. Well, it's like unreliable narrator. So to try
oh, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
I'm trying to understand. He's an unreliable narrator.
Right. But I immediately just jumped to, we've got guilt about killing our family.
Yeah,
because
you would think.
Because guilt about being involved in MKUltra, it's not really guilt about being involved in it. It would be, well, essentially, yes.
Yeah.
If LSD scrambled your brain.
Yeah, he was a victim, but then he turned around and did something.
But maybe this person references MKUltra because this person might know a lot more.
He might know.
He might know what the developers were talking about, the 1970s and 80s.
We got the perfect timing for it.
Now Dwayne's here, and so.
Because you have money. It's probably blood money, but I don't care.
In the Pride videotape, it's pretty much confirmed to us
what
Dwayne
totally.
did for a
100%.
job, as it's revealed that Dwayne spent some of his time working in a chemist's lab. There is even a timesheet on the side with his name on it, and there is a chemical structure for LSD hanging on the wall.
LSD,
This lab is fronted by being called Health Pharmacy.
Okay.
Okay.
That's cool. Okay. So these
chemist, but he was on the drugs. Surely, no. If he worked in the chemist, maybe he was sneaking them because he had an addiction problem. Like, I don't know. He was like if you're a patient, you're not going to be dealing the drugs. You're going to be dealt the drugs.
Hang on, let me just back that up.
There is even a timesheet on the side with his name on it.
And there
is a chemical structure for LSD hanging on the wall. This lab is fronted.
Oh, okay. So this is where the MKUltra comes from. The lab with LSD on the wall and the timing. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I take it all back.
By being called Health Pharmacy.
Generic
Prison is a
name.
VHS tape in which Dwayne has to knock down 4 walls to escape through an exit wall while being hunted by an apparition of a tall man covered in a dark substance. I believe this tape serves as a visual representation of Dwayne's fear that he would be sent to prison for his involvement in MKUltra, and possibly something else. Finally, in the Affliction videotape, Dwayne walks through what seems to be a water treatment plant. After walking through, Dwayne ends up at a well. Bodies start floating up to the surface of the water, and Dwayne gets pulled into the well by a guy who looks like he's covered in something. Now, is that significant in any way? Well, yes, I think it is. Remember I talked about MKUltra, this super secret CIA experiment which ran from 1953 to the mid-1960s, took place during the Cold War in response to the efforts of the Soviet Union undertaking their own mind control experiments, which raised a significant interest in psychological manipulation. This project was eventually shut down around 1966, and all records of it were destroyed in 1973. Before it was officially shut down, it was widely believed by officials that the thought of introducing LSD into the water supply to control an entire populace was in fact an effective one. Could this be what the affliction tape is referring to, that the water supplies were secretly being spiked and people were dying as a result? Is this vision a manifestation of Dwayne's guilt for what he was involved in? Certainly interesting. In this tape we also recover a staff door pass from someone's locker. Remember I mentioned Lewis Taylor earlier in the video? This locker belonged to Lewis Taylor. Rose mentions in the comic that Lewis has been unhappy working at the water treatment plant for a while.
Wow. So cool.
We didn't stop to read the comic because again we were too
No,
scared.
I was just terrified the whole time.
So
I was shaking in my boots.
He wasn't being treated with the drugs. He was a participant in the project,
He was
creating harm as an agent in there.
He felt guilt about his administering.
Yeah.
Or his role.
Okay, I see now. So it is guilt. He wasn't a victim. He wasn't given the drugs. He was giving.
Oh, so that's okay. That's what this is all it's going to boil down to. Was he a victim or not?
And then he ended up
with some kind of drug addiction himself.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Maybe
it
the
makes
guilt.
The water treatment plant. That's such a cool touch.
That is cool. Maybe the guilt and access to drugs. Maybe he started sneaking them.
Oh, sure. Okay. See, this is really helpful. I didn't know that the VHS tapes that you should be thinking about it. Being his, not again, it's not real life, but it's the sort of manifestation of his feelings about his real living life.
Mm-hmm.
That she's worried about him. Has something sinister been happening at that water plant? Notice as well the black substance that leads to Lewis Taylor's locker. Familiar? Lewis Taylor's photo on his pass certainly seems to resemble someone that we've seen before.
Yeah.
So
the eyes, the crazy eyes.
That's wild.
I thought that was Dwayne, but now it's Lewis Taylor. Okay, interesting.
Whoa. Okay, so cool.
I believe that through everything we see in the game, it all loops back to Dwayne. Dwayne worked as a chemist in a lab producing LSD under a company name called Health Pharmacy in 1953. Now we know that the CIA used bogus foundations to distribute LSD to hospitals in order to carry out research projects on patients during the 50s and 60s. Lucy was given medicated treatment at a hospital by a doctor sometime before her death in 1961, as this is confirmed through dialogue from her parents and that there are numerous depictions of Lucy being drugged. Dolores was evaluated for mental disorders before her death in 1962. She was suffering with dementia, but I do believe that she was being given LSD at the hospital, and as a result, she experienced other changing behaviours and developed other issues as a result. This, I believe, ties into the timeline of the MKUltra experiments, and they were essentially being administered LSD. Due to the location of the house, they'd likely both went to the same psych ward for treatment, the same psych ward that we visit in Raken's chapter. Lo and behold, both Lucy and Dolores' conditions worsened and they ended up killing themselves. MKUltra shut down in 1966, a year after the death of Lewis Taylor. I think Dwayne had an even bigger role in the MKUltra fiasco than we were actually led to believe. I think Dwayne was being manipulated by his higher-ups into carrying on secret work for the CIA, and I believe that they placed him at the water treatment plant under the guise of being an employee. His job? To spike the water supply for Riversdale. One problem. I believe Lewis Taylor found out what Dwayne was up to. Dwayne, with no other option, killed Lewis Taylor, likely drowning him. This explains why Lewis Taylor appears in the house as an apparition and haunts Dwayne. And finally, this leads us on to Raken. I believe the CIA covertly spiked Raken's water supply with LSD and bugged his house to watch him and surveil his behaviour. This was perfect for them, as Raken lived alone and there was no collateral. We meet Raken and get glimpses of his behaviour, his paranoia spiralling out of control. He thought he was being surveilled and watched, and he actually was. This is why in the Raken chapter, Through the Eyes of Dwayne, we experience it as if through the lens of a surveillance camera. It's because Raken was actually being monitored. When he fires his weapon at what appears to be an apparition of Lewis Taylor at the start of chapter 3, his neighbour Rose hears the shots and calls the police, probably more out of concern for her neighbour than anything else, and he is sectioned. He claims that someone broke into his home and bugged it, but police could find no evidence of a break-in.
He claims that someone broke into his house and tried to strangle him, and that he used his firearm in an attempt to defend himself. What's weird is that there's nothing in the police report that indicates any break-in.
This would indicate that someone gained access to the house, someone who had easy access to it and knew the layout. Raken mentions in the hospital that the medication they are giving him is making everything worse, and he is getting more and more paranoid and violent. It's not really clear what Dwayne is doing at this point in terms of work. He could be at the water treatment plant, and he could be working surveillance for the CIA. We simply don't know. But he knows Raken somehow. Raken even uses Dwayne's name, as did Dolores. Did Dwayne at some point work at the hospital in the psych ward, administering LSD to the patients? Certainly an interesting theory. In terms of MK Ultra, it wasn't until 1977 that US Congress held a hearing and put a complete stop to it. At this point, the project was made public knowledge, but most of the individuals...
That's fascinating. It's so much more interesting to think that Dwayne's ghost is being haunted and tormented by the people that he wronged.
So all of those people who had LSD, including Dolores,
and potentially direct
contact
yeah. with Dwayne.
Because he was like kind of keeping an eye on them almost.
Well, he could like he mentioned, he could have worked at the water treatment facility. He could have worked at a psych ward.
Massive coincidence that he ended up living at that house.
Oh.
As well.
I hope he touches on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Records of people
there's not much
used
more.
As experiments were destroyed. I think that Dwayne moved into the house after the program shut down around the year 1977 to be closer to his work. It's clear from the glimpses into Dwayne's life that he harbours massive guilt for his part in the experiments and the lives ruined as a result. He seems to be a devout Catholic and even has a confessional booth in his home. Dwayne probably felt that he couldn't leave the CIA or the project due to the fear of being silenced. After spiralling, Dwayne eventually succumbs to his guilt and depression and kills his entire family and himself. Dwayne wakes up in purgatory and has to live out the trauma of his 3 victims before he can find peace himself. I'm certain that this is how everything circles back to Dwayne and that he was involved in it all from the start. Why else would the vision of Dwayne's wife in the Indifference tape mention the exact way that Lucy, Dolores and Raken died? Moreover, if this person in the Plague Doctor mask symbolises Dwayne's guilt, why is Dwayne's guilt saying this as if he's the one that did it?
Want me to stab you with 7 knives? Want me to rip the jaw off your ugly face? How about I break both your legs and leave you to rot in a cellar? You're a disgrace!
Dwayne essentially played a part in all of their deaths, however small, and now needs to face up to it. When Raken is left to die in the cellar, someone mysterious wearing a suit shuts him in and locks the door. I'm not sure if I 100% believe this is Dwayne or not. It could be, but we'll never know. Anyway, that's my theory on what I think is the underlying story of this great game. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to leave a thumbs up or a comment on your thoughts. Subscribe to...
Wow.
Well,
okay.
So, cool.
Yeah.
That's how you write a story.
Yeah.
That's how you write a story.
I will say this. Part of the terror of playing Visage...
Call it Visage.
Thanks, Visage. Part of the terror for me and for Weenie was that I didn't know why the things around me were happening. That was why it was so terrifying. And in fact, that might make it scarier. Watching something like this before you play might not be the best thing.
Yeah, I think it's good though to get some backstory.
Yeah.
And a connection.
After the fact. But if you knew like, oh yeah, obviously like I've wronged all these people. This makes sense. The logic.
There's a reason for the season.
Yeah, no, I get a little bit loud, don't I? But that knowledge makes it more comfortable, and it's more unsettling that you don't know.
I'm still mad though. It's like, Dwayne, you can get a divorce. You don't have to take everyone with you.
This is taking a turn.
Like, seriously, family and
come on, guys, we can do better.
He feels guilty, so it's like, why not just add to the guilt, just off the whole family and myself? Like, no.
Well, and I guess we're supposed to imagine that at this point he's deranged. He's completely insane.
Yeah, I don't like him.
From abusing all of those drugs, and we don't really know what kind of cocktail he was on. But
we didn't explain the 5 pills and only 4 tubes.
I know. I think that was just a little bit of an oversight.
Okay.
Fascinating, so cool. This individual did a great job, but they did not spoil. Apparently, there are alternate endings.
Yeah,
so I don't know how to. Yeah.
What was in that jammed room in the clock cupboard?
Yeah, and there are some Easter eggs as well that we never found.
Yeah. We might have to look those up separately.
But thanks to Cyrox who
the reaction
sent this video our way, because it definitely illuminated. I mean, it totally illuminated the story. There's a whole story now. And now
story behind the story.
Before it was just me running through a haunted house, trying not to get eaten.
The way he worded it, he made it sound like the house was, and it was way more deep than that. It wasn't like a haunted house that was cursing people. My simple mind.
This does clear some things up.
I want to play some games now.
All right, thanks y'all for watching our reaction to learning what the heck we were playing all of this time, and our complete upload of Visage is going to be on YouTube, edited down for viewer enjoyment. But the lives are also available if you want to slog through the brutality of the raw gameplay.
It's really fun to watch.
Yeah.
It's a lot more relaxing to watch than to play.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. All right, y'all, thanks so much for watching.
Bye.
We'll see you next time in maybe another scary game. Just depends on what everybody's feeling.
Weenie and Weenie.
Over and out.